Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a conversation with Josh Cirre. He's a software engineer, a YouTuber, and a former improv actor. And today he makes videos about building fun and creative things as a developer. We chat about how to balance ambition with real life responsibilities, the 3 things you need to choose the perfect niche in your content, and the full story of how Josh went from being unemployed with 2 kids to getting his dream job. I'm Dillan Taylor. I run Grindstone, which is accountability coaching for video creators. And so far, we've helped our clients generate over $755,000 in added income. And hopefully conversations like this one with Josh will help you level up your own content so that maybe we can work together one-on-one. But if you've ever questioned whether or not you are creating content about the right niche, or you've struggled to juggle family, life, making content, then you will get a ton out of this episode. Josh is awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation. So without further ado, hope you enjoy my conversation with Josh Cirre. Mr. Josh, your banners on your social media and your YouTube channel, they say, keep creating. What does keep creating mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's fun because it means something to me that it might mean differently to other people, maybe even everyone else. Like, I think that's one thing that is important to me as well. It's kind of like that uniqueness of what being creative, being a creator, creating things, what that means to me is something completely different. What it means to me is that I know that the thing that moves me forward in life, not just personally, but also knowing that the trajectory of my career, the trajectory of what I want to do, who I want to be as a person, who I want to be as a dad, as a husband, everything hinges on if I am actually doing something with these skills that I think I have. And so what keep creating means to me is that I don't want there to be a single day gone by that I feel like I didn't try to make something that I didn't I hadn't made before or hadn't thought of before. So when I think of keep creating, I think of all the knowledge that I consume, all the entertainment that I like to consume. I like to consume a lot of stuff, but it would mean nothing if I didn't try to put it into practice.
It makes me think of the Austin Kleon notion of focusing on the verb as opposed to the noun.
Mm.
So rather than be a creator, like I'm a creator, I am this noun, you are focusing on the day-to-day verb of like, well, no, what does a creator do? A creator is someone who is in the momentum and in the actual action of creating things with your hands, with your brain, with your fingers, typing on a keyboard. That's what I got out of what you just said.
Exactly. Because I think as like, and I would say a lot of the people that I am trying to target and be an audience of, a lot of the times I'm not trying to target people who would already identify as creators as well. And so I do have a personal and it might stem also like from my spiritual beliefs, it might stem just from my personal philosophy, whatever that might be. I truly believe that people are inherently creative individuals. And so most of my audience probably wouldn't say, or most of the people that I actually want to be my audience, and I would say probably most of my current audience would probably say that like they are not creative. Like, oh, I just write code on a screen, or I just, I go to work, I show up, I ask AI what to do about this, and then I figure it out. And so I guess the keep creating stanzas not just for myself to like to remind myself to always consistently move forward, but it's also kind of like a manifesto, if you will, to others, an inherent declaration to others of saying that the things that you do, I think you can only do them as a human being. And it's not something because, oh, you have this knowledge and no one else has. It's because you are creative. And so when it means to keep creating, it means, continue being a human and continue being the things that, make you you.
How did all this start for you? Would you be willing to take me through the timeline of your software development career? And then at some point, I'd love to know how content creation specifically entered into that realm for you.
Yeah, I would say I started with the creative side of just life in general. In very much so outside of even tech, music, and acting was always a big part of my life. The first instrument I learned how to play, my mom taught me how to play piano when I was 4 years old. And I just was always playing some type of music. I taught myself how to play guitar when I was 13, taught myself a bunch of other instruments. I was singing.
Can see the keyboard in the
time.
background.
Yeah. I keep it there as a good reminder, a little bit personality as well. But my life kind of always revolved around just creative things in general. And it was one of those things where, I would write, we still have home videos about it. I was oldest of I had three younger brothers, and I would like make these stupid, sketches of like, I wrote this, like I think I was really into King Arthur and Lancelot, like Camelot, Knights of the Round Table kind of stuff. I remember when I was 8 or 9. I might have been a little older, 9 or 10. I wrote this like 5 to 10 minute play where I had my brothers like cast as like certain individuals. And then I wrote like certain songs to be like, okay, this is like when King Arthur dies because he got stabbed by this, rogue barbarian kind of thing. And so then I would write this song, and like, there was like an intro, there was a middle, there was an ending. It was like, okay, hey, here's what I did for my, just for fun this summer. And so throughout my high school and college life, I just knew I liked three things. I liked stories. I liked music and art. I guess that's kind of like all kind of encompassed in one. And then I liked tech. So I was like, I got really big in high school. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to record myself doing music, because what good is writing music if you don't actually have a way to share it with someone? And so I learned how to, what a microphone was, what a condenser microphone versus a dynamic microphone was. I learned how audio and MIDI work. I just taught myself all of it, usually from books from the library or like YouTube channels, blogs. I think back sometimes, I'm like, I don't know if my parents really knew what I was doing as like a 14-year-old. I would be like on Ventrilo, I think was it. It's kind of like early Skype. Probably before Skype. It was kind of around the same time. It was mostly for gamers. But I was probably on the calls with, 30 plus year old people just being like, hey, how do you do this when you're using this? I'm like, that's probably not something I would let my kids do nowadays. But it helped craft me into who I wanted to be. And so after college, I still, I experimented with tech. I experimented with, was I going to make a game? So I would buy like C++ books and learn. I wanted to be like, I want to make an FPS game, multiplayer, of course. And I was like, that's way too hard. So I learned how to do Hello World in CSS or C++. I would build band pages on MySpace or just like PHP bulletin boards where I wasn't actually coding. It was more just, hey, here's a theme I found, and I'm just going to modify it and then change like this graphic with my pirated Photoshop CS2. And then I'm going to, I designed a bunch of in online forums. I don't know if you remember, the signatures were like a big thing. Where it's like, okay, what graphic did you have that represented you and your username in your signature for a forum? And so I would design people's for them. I would watch Photoshop tutorials of like, how do I do like this particular thing? And I remember one of my best ones was one that I like followed a tutorial, but I changed it just a little bit. So it was like, it felt like mine. It was like this Mario dude spinning around, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. It was like this flowing effect. And so in college, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I went to a Bible school of all things. And so I was like, hey, I don't really know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to do music. I don't know if I want to, get into tech. I thought I might be for a small spot spot in my life, I didn't know if I was going to be like a professional gamer, but then I was like, I like talking. So maybe I'm going to be a color commentator or like a play-by-play commentator for esports that was starting to pick up. My senior year of college, 2015, 2016. I was like, maybe I'll just jump into that world. I lived in Chicago, so I was like, I'm going to do SNL. I love comedy. I love being on stage. Most people who are training to be an SNL go through this thing called Second City in Chicago. And then they find people and find connections and they move to New York. And so I was like, I'm going to I spent about 3 to 4 years rising the ranks of Second City and Improv One, which was another school there. And I did well, but it was one of those things where like, I didn't know if I was good enough, one, and then two, I didn't know if I had the personality to kind of have the politics that I needed to find the people who I needed to kiss up to, and then I didn't like that part, and so I was bussing tables. I was doing any community theater or musical theater I could find that paid $100 a week or whatever it was to kind of get by. And I eventually just said, remote tech jobs are starting to get popular. I wasn't good at anything, but I was like, I could find something that I could be good at. And so I just eventually found a customer support role that was like, hey, we just need someone to answer emails, but you can do it for anywhere you want. And it's for a SaaS product. So I was curious. I asked so many questions at that first job, just of like, we were all in Slack together. It was all remote. So I'd ask the developers of like, okay, how did you learn how to build this? Like, what's the first programming language I should learn? I know basic JavaScript, basic HTML, basic CSS, just from what I would play around with on WordPress. And so I eventually just took it upon myself at that time to try to always blend the things I was really passionate about, whether it was like music, creativity, art, with the acting side and videos, with the coding tech side. And I was like, I'm just going to find ways while I'm working this job and the subsequent jobs after that of, I don't necessarily know what title I'm going for, but I want to do all of these things together. And so I would just, even if I wasn't getting paid for it, I would, make these, I would start to learn how to code by doing these internal tools of like, hey, at the very first job, it was like, hey, we make these calculations for a customer. I was already kind of had this notepad always on my computer. It was like, okay, hey, here's like the 3 things. If I put that into a calculator this particular way, then it like comes out. And I was like, I just wrote a script for that. Then I put that online and I was like, okay, now all of our customer support team can just use this. And so there's so many ways I was like, I just need to find a way to do this. And through that time, the format that always came out that I was usually best with, probably just from, being behind or in front of the camera and not behind it in a lot of ways in college, I was like, I think I'm just best at video. So I had a cheap webcam. I had a very cheap, I actually didn't have a cheap microphone because I still used music stuff. So I had an audio interface. I had a microphone, and I was like, oh, my audio at least is going to be good. Maybe my video won't be. And I would just start making, hey, instead of answering a customer 20 times with the same email, I made one video, and then I would just copy and paste that link and send it to 20 customers. And eventually I found roles that I think fit better with my personality and with where I wanted to be. Right around that first role, I started seeing this world of this role of DevRel start coming up, and it was this blog post that I saw from I actually forget their name, but someone who worked at Google, or probably still works at Google, and they were someone who did musical theater and acting in college, and then also just like started programming. And now what they do is like they talk in front of people and they do like talks, and then they, they create courses and they do all this. I'm like, that'd be really interesting. That sounds just like me. And at the time, there was probably only, at least popularized, there was probably only 5 or 6 people who were in this role. And now like I'm friends with a lot of them, which is awesome. Um, but I was like, I need to do this. And so every single company that I applied for, most of them didn't have that type of role. But I kind of made myself an honorary. I would just call myself a DevRel. Usually when I was like talking to other people, I'd be like, yeah, this is what I do. I technically,
What's that stand for? DevRel?
Developer relations.
Okay.
Yep. So developer relations, a lot of companies call it. At the time, it was avocado was like the the symbol for it because it's developer advocate, and so it was like this dev avocado. So you're like, and what most companies would say they do in that particular role is you are like the technical advocate for your product or your community, and then you're trying to teach or engage or relate to the customers of your particular developer tool, whether that's whether that's open source stuff, whether that's a product, or just being able to like answer questions from people who are also technical. And so every single job that I kind of applied for and got, I was a support engineer, I was a solutions engineer or sales engineer, which was more just basically like a technical support for sales teams in a lot of ways. And every single time I just tried to, I probably, worked 20 plus hours more than what I was being paid for at these roles. But at the same time, I learned so much. I built a lot. I created a lot of videos. I got so many reps under my belt that by in September of 2023. By that time, I had so many reps under my belt, and I was like an established sales engineer. Life was good. I just had my second kid, and I was like, "Hey, this is going great. Like, I feel like I'm on a good trajectory. I'm not a dev rel just yet, but at the same time, like, I like what I'm doing. I'm still getting to do music on the side. Like, I have this flexibility." And the company that I was at ended up firing me, but mostly because they didn't like how I was the side projects I was building and the time allegedly I was like spending on them in a lot of ways. So it was one of those things where like, hey, you're doing too much. You can't be doing all this just on your own time. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what to do from here now. Where it's like, I don't know if I didn't feel like I had the skills or the expertise to automatically jump into which now more companies were having these DevRel roles, and I was acquainting or getting myself acquainted with people who were there. I was like, okay, I probably could apply for them, but I'm not. I know people who have been in DevRel for 10 years and are trying to find jobs right now, kind of thing. And I built a couple products on the side. I didn't know if I wanted to go full founder mode and just try to build those products, but that wasn't, in a lot of ways, I used that as a creative kindling for a fire to have creative output, but I didn't feel as creative in that role of I'm building this product and now I have to market it like that. It just felt very monotonous to me in a lot of ways, at least to do it for, if I was like, okay, if I do this, I'm all in and I'm going to do it for a year and a half. I'm going to do it for 3 years, 5 years, whatever that might be. And that didn't sound right to me. And so I just kept trying to figure things out. And it was the longest time I've ever been unemployed, or the longest time I've been self-employed in a lot of ways. Mostly because I still didn't know what I was going to do or what the skills I had would lead into. And I'm grateful that my wife is so supportive, because I remember it was about 2 months after I got fired, and she's a stay-at-home mom, so she doesn't work. We just, our second is now 3 months old, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a YouTube video or YouTube channel, I had already kind of had a YouTube channel, but there was no public videos on it other than I think when I was in high school, I recorded. It's not on there anymore, so you can't find this, but it's unlisted. I might have actually deleted it. That's it.
I'm gonna find it one day, Josh.
I'll if it's unlisted, I'll send you the link. But it was in my junior year of high school, I recorded a cover of "That's What Makes You Beautiful" by One Direction, and so that was on it. That got like 300 views. Did decent amount at that time. And I think I had 2 other videos that I was really into. This guy named in college. I was really into this guy named Owen. I can't think of his name. Owen. Now I'm gonna have to look it up because
Owen Benjamin, the comedian.
He's kind of like a Owen. Is it not space cartoon? Well, I can't think of his name. Owen Rogers? No, that doesn't sound right. Let's see. Owen Rogers. Is it Owen Rogers? It is Owen Rogers.
Owen Rogers.
Olin Rogers, not Owen.
Olin. Okay.
Olin Rogers. I feel embarrassed because he was one of my favorite creators for the longest time. I haven't gotten the chance to keep up with what he's doing. I think he's doing a lot more kind of cartoon stuff that got picked up by Netflix even as well. But at the time, 10, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever that was, he was very big into these story videos. He would just tell stories about his life and literally just sit in front of a camera. There was no cuts. There was no visual graphics. There was nothing. And so during college, I was like, I have a couple stories that I like about my life. And so I recorded like maybe 3 or 4 videos of those, and they were on my YouTube channel as well at that time. But in November 2023, or September 2020, September, October, November, whatever it was, October, November 2023, I was like, hey, I just tell my wife, I think I am going to like actually take YouTube seriously. I don't think I'm gonna like be able to pay the bills in a year with this, but I think that this is the right path for me to then find either a job that pays me or just a company that I can then be like get paid for. And I at the time I was being a little picky with jobs I was applying to, but not very much. I was like, I'll work with anything and still keep doing the stuff I do on the side. And she was great. I was grateful for her to be so supportive in that sense of knowing that here I am, like we're not bringing hardly any money in other than the few contract gigs that I was kind of like trying to find and working here or there. And so it was like, hey, I'm gonna upgrade a couple things because I was like, there's a few things that I know. I had lights at that time. I had my camera set up with the cam link because I was just doing stuff on the side for my previous job. That was like one of the things like honorary DevRel in a lot of ways. But I did buy, I bought this mic, this microphone because I was like, I like it. I've always wanted one. And so
it's a Shure?
A Shure SM7B.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I always wanted one for music that was just expensive enough for me to be like, I can't afford that right now. So I of course I bought it when I was unemployed. And I think I didn't spend much, but being unemployed, I spent around $1,000 to be like, okay, I want to do this the right way. And so I got like some more like stock initial graphics. I bought some transitions that I really wanted from DaVinci Resolve because I was like, I'm going to edit it. So I spent money and then time every single week in putting out these videos. And at the time, like my side projects were built using this framework called Laravel, which is a full stack PHP framework. And it was mostly because I I had learned and grown a lot as a developer. I still never worked full time as a developer, but a lot of the things I was doing, internal tools for companies as well as just side projects, I was like, okay, I know enough where I can build a website or a web app, but I don't know enough to build a full SaaS product or feel comfortable selling a SaaS product. And Laravel was the first one that I was like, oh, I can build this fast, but two, I can actually sell them. That was the first SaaS product that I was kind of had on the side while I was unemployed of like, okay, people are paying me money for this. I don't think that's my full-time job or it should be my full-time job, but like it gives me some impetus that I know what I'm doing, or it gives me some kind of confidence that, hey, if I can do it, anyone can do it kind of thing. And so the first video that I made was something a bunch of my coworkers had asked me about. They were like, hey, JavaScript. I know you know that because you're using it in your job. But why are you using Laravel? Like, why are you doing this when you don't even know PHP? You don't know all of this stuff. I hadn't worked in batteries included frameworks before. They felt ancient at the time. Most people said that they were ancient. Most people have moved on from Rails, from Laravel, from Phoenix, and they kind of moved on to JavaScript and Next.js and Node.js and all of this stuff. And I kind of went in the reverse. And so the first video I made and published on my channel was this video called "Why I Choose Laravel." And it was basically like this. Those are so those are the oldest. So right. That's a good story actually. Right before I started, or right before I made that "Why I Choose Laravel" video, the ones before I had done about a year before that, maybe a year and a half before that, I'd actually recorded them as a challenge of, hey, make a product in 2 weeks and sell it. And so I went through this challenge with a bunch of people on Twitter. And so when I told my wife, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, or I'm going to actually dedicate time to this, I was like, I can't just start it with one video. I should have other videos on it. So I took all the videos that I recorded a year or 2 years earlier and just put them up. And I was like, I got to start. That way, when people like click on this, you should just choose Laravel video. I'm like, oh, this guy has at least 14 videos.
So you have a library.
Like some sort of library, even though they suck.
Which, by the way, sorry to cut you off here. I know you're in the flow of things, but I got to say, you've lost some weight, dude.
Well,
over these years.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you look you look, I mean, noticeably different from these earlier videos.
That was COVID Josh.
Josh. Okay.
Yeah. That was, I'm pretty sure that was 2021, right, when I recorded those. So they had been sitting in the library. Technically, that was what I had asked people to pay for. It was basically like a collection of all these videos of my learnings of making a landing page. And a lot of people, that was how I made my first dollar on the internet outside of contract work. And so that was really a great, that was a good confidence boost to me. And like the first time I like did a full length micro course, if you will, of like videos and not just one-off ones that I was making for my company. But yeah, I think that was around 2021.
Yeah. And so then you upload this library so that you have 14 videos, and then you upload "You Should Just Choose Laravel." And I mean, the outlier here, 41,000 views compared to all these others. Yeah, it seems like you're about to go into this video.
Yep, exactly. It was one of those ones that I was like, hey, if I had like a starting video that I then just have on my channel, one, it just tells a little bit of story about me, and I didn't expect it to do anything. Like I at the time there was someone I looked up to in the Laravel world. There was a couple people I looked up to in the Laravel world, but there was a guy named Aaron Francis, who creates PHP and Laravel content. And then there's a guy named Jeffrey Way who creates Laracasts. And so it's like these people I'm looking up to of like, okay, I can't be them. One, I haven't been in that world long enough. But two, I just want to make a video that like, if I was watching their content, I would also want to watch mine. And so I think about maybe like a couple months, 3 or 4 months before I put out that you should choose Laravel video. Um, it's Aaron Francis had kind of gone viral for and viral meaning probably around, I think his current video has around 300,000, maybe 500,000 views, in the sense, and it went viral on Twitter of, hey, like PHP is not the same PHP of yesterday, in the sense of this is why Laravel is good now in a lot of ways. And some bigger content creators in the development space, like the Primogen, as well as Tej, and even Theo T3.gg and others, like they kind of latched onto this, and I was like, okay, like it's 4 months ago, which is forever in YouTube and content world, but I'm like, I want to put out this video, one, to it be like this, hey, this is the start of my YouTube journey, but then two, of maybe I can kind of solidify myself as like, here's this guy who's kind of new to the Laravel PHP world, but hopefully I have something fresh to share. And I would have to look at the analytics of it, but I don't think it took off really in the first couple of days. Like, I shared it on Twitter. I think in the first couple of days, I maybe had like 100, 200 views. And I was like, and maybe that was probably like a week, actually, 100, 200 views. And to me, like, that was awesome. I was like, okay, like this is really good. Like it blew my expectations out of the water. I think within the first week I had 100 subscribers. And I was kind of like, I could probably pull up texts like from my wife. I was like, one, thank you for believing in me. Two, like 100 subscribers might not seem like a lot, but then it was like, okay, I can actually, like this might be something in a lot of ways. If anything, like it's something I'm excited about, and she's very supportive of things that I just get excited about. And I think
beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, it really is. It's awesome. And I think by the end of the first month, first week, I can't remember when I released the second video, but I think the next couple of videos, they didn't do as well, but it was like, okay, where do I fit? I want to be consistent in putting things out, but I also just want to, try new things and try new ways of making videos, new things for it. But that very first video, and you can, as we could see, it's still, I think, top 5 videos that I've ever made. I think in terms of views. And it was one of those things where I was kind of blown away by the reception of it, but I was also just blown away by it really helped combat this feeling that I had of what I am sharing is not welcome, or it's not good enough in a lot of ways. Like, I felt like I'm not someone who can be an expert on this, because I don't feel like an expert, and I'm not. But it also, initially from that, all of a sudden, like, I got people saying like, hey, like, this is really good, or the way you talk is really good, or the way you make videos is really good. And to me, and even now, like, I can look back on that and I'll be like, oh, I was not as articulate as I am now. The audio levels are all over the place. The video color grading is weird. Even like how long the video is like, it's a good length, but there's pieces that I would do differently today. But at the same time, I think the reason why it did so well is because others could tell that wasn't me just reading off of a script. That was me, like, telling this story about, here's really why I truly believe this. And yeah, so it just opened up so many avenues for not only content, but then just people that I talked to and interacted with, eventually leading to, I think, like, the second biggest piece of my kind of history within content and history within just career in general was, I was still continuing to make videos. I was still continuing to apply for jobs, but I wasn't really getting too many places. And by this time, it was the end of March in 2024, which was at this time, what about like 5-ish months since I was unemployed or since I was fired. And it was my 30th birthday. And it was one of those things where like I'm very reflective person. So I already had a list that I had made 10 years earlier of like, here's the things I would like to do by the time I'm 30. And I hit, I don't know, 60% of them. I'm ambitious at the same time too. So I didn't hit all of them, but there was one that really stuck out to me. It was like, I think I had written how I wanted to like either have my own YouTube channel or have like a developer relation role. And or just be making money for myself. Like that was kind of thing. At that point I had already I had hit huge goals within my own mind of what my YouTube channel was at. I can't remember specifically, but I think I was at around like 8,000 subscribers on YouTube at that point, maybe 5,000. There was a bigger hit standpoint, and I kind of got an ad revenue at that point. And I was like, I was so proud when I would show my wife. I'm like, oh, I made $30 this month. Like this is this is a good month this year.
2 Chipotle burritos.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I can take someone out. I can take you out to eat right now. And in March, I was reading this book called the Dollar Challenge by Noah Kahan. Noah Kahan?
Mm-hmm.
That's his name.
Kagan.
Kagan. There you go. Thank you. From Noah Kagan. And I got this crazy idea that instead of just asking my friends and family for $1, and because that was the challenge, it was like, hey, ask your friends and family $1, and that's kind of like this, hey, thank you for investing in me. I want to do some great things. So I got this crazy idea of I'm going to ask the whole internet for $1, like everyone that I know for $1. And so I made this video. I kind of drummed up some suspense of like how I was making it. And then the day of my 30th birthday, I kind of released this, hey, like give $1. Like I think here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's what I really want to do. Like it's not going to go wasted kind of thing. And I even made this second bet was like, hey, if my net worth like doesn't succeed 10x of like what it is today, then I'll give you your $1 back in 3 years. And so I kind of made that challenge to people, and it took off more than I expected. Like even Noah Kagan himself paid for $1, and like there's people like retweeting it. Some people I left the option open to like pay more than $1, and like it was just awesome to see how many people, friends, acquaintances, otherwise, and just seeing so many people say like, hey, like I don't know you, or I do know you, but I think like just this itself is a great idea, or I don't know you, but if you're bold enough to do something like this, like that's worth this out of my paycheck kind of thing. And yeah, I can't remember the exact number of people that ended up giving, but I think it was over 150 or 200 people that just kind of just gave. And there are big people in the Laravel world. Caleb Porzio, the creator of Livewire, which was a lot of the videos I was kind of talking about, he gave and then started talking about me on a podcast about how kind of stupid I was in the sense of like, but in all good fun kind of thing. But it was funny because I was like, okay, my name is now being mentioned on like a podcast. Like, this is crazy. Like a podcast that I listen to. And people started reaching out to me about that specifically. And it was like this, it felt like between that first video and this turning point on my birthday, there was just so much going on. And it was like to this point that I still didn't know what was next. I was still applying for jobs and getting rejected. I was still applying for jobs and interviewing for content jobs as well as just developer jobs, and kind of wasn't getting anywhere. And it was a crazy journey. And then also, just only 2 months later, ended up getting a DM from the creator of Laravel, Taylor Otwell, founder and creator of Laravel, and they started to hire a couple of people, and he asked me if I wanted to work for them and like do content as well as customer support. They're like, we can't hire a full time content person right now, but I think you'd be great at this. And I was like, I'll do it. And so it was like this huge journey that eventually like led to so many opportunities post that, like post being able to do that, and like, but it wasn't something I ever expected in a lot of ways too.
Man, what a story. Thank you for taking me through all of that.
That's the long version. So there is no shorter.
I'm grateful for the long version. No. It's so good. And there's so much to unpack here. I don't know if I'll get to every single thing that popped up in my brain as you were sharing all of it, but there was maybe some golden nuggets that stuck out to me, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah.
One is the principle of following your unfair advantages. So letting your natural strengths, proclivities, your experiences that most other people maybe don't have, or skills other people don't have, expertise, I think passions and interests, like things that really intrigue you. Like a lot of what you shared, it's, I think I've shared this on the podcast a couple times. Like, I tried to teach myself how to code like 3 solid times, man, just simple HTML, CSS. And oh man, I gave up so hard. I was like, I'm never trying this again. This is like, I have a pounding headache trying to debug my own hello world. Like, why doesn't it look the way I want? And so it's like, this is just pain to me. And yet I have so many friends and talking to a guy right now where it's like, no, it's just play. Like, to other people, this thing that to me is like hard grinding work, and I'm sure it's hard work for people who love it as well. I'm not saying that, but to some people, this is just play. It's like I'm on a playground playing this. It's just like, you're never going to compete with somebody like that. Like, you can't, you're never going to compete with someone if this is just a chore to you, but to them, it's like they're playing. They're just having fun. So that unfair advantage of you really following the stuff that you loved and kind of combining all of it. So this is sort of the second big principle that came up, which was sort of like your own content ikigai, which is the culmination or combination of not just the things that you're really interested in, things that you really love doing, but also the things that you're very good at, your natural strengths. But then it seemed like after X amount of time, what you eventually pulled into the fray was also, well, what are people willing to pay for? What does the market demand? And I'm a fellow actor. I auditioned on Broadway for, like, my first career choice was I want to be a professional stage actor. I'm going to be in a traveling theater company, and that's what I did in college.
That's awesome.
But I flunked out of college, so I couldn't go into any of the schools that I that I got accepted into. There were 3, but my point being, it's a beautiful career. Like, I love theater and I love acting and I also love storytelling. But man, talk about an unforgiving career path. And you've said you're trying to scrape by on like these $100 a week gigs. It's just the supply demand curve is just so unforgiving in that realm, where there's way more supply of people trying to make it in the industry than there is demand for people in that industry. Which, I still think it's a beautiful thing, and it's I have nothing but love and respect for it. But I made also a similar choice. Maybe it wasn't like something you felt, oh, I'm stepping away from this. But when I flunked out of college, I was like, but the only skill I have is acting. What do I do? It's like I either act or wait tables, which really is I act and wait tables, or I just wait tables.
Yeah, or you just do that. Yeah, you just do that more of it. Yeah,
exactly. But I was like, man, I just don't think I really want to dive into this career path. I think I'd like to step into something, and I had no idea what it was, but I was like, let me get into the world of business or sales. Like, I just bet it will take less work and pain to make more, like have a higher upside potentially. Was my bet. And anyway, I'm losing the plot here, but I think the final piece here is, I mean, if it seems like in your journey, it really was like the prophecy was complete as far as you sort of nailing the exact role. Like, it just feels like you what am I trying to say here? Like, it was never about any one particular project or job or gig or role. It was never like, but like, is this the thing? Is this? It's just like, no, this is the thing that's going to build even just this much more experience, stories, context, skills that will make the next thing much easier. And then that will make the next thing much easier. And that will make the next thing much easier. And then all that combines to what I'm looking at right now, where you have this beautiful backdrop and you have this microphone and you just seem like, yeah, like you are in a state of flow, but this was all of this for you was built off this back of years and years and years of customer service, like customer development, recording yet another video. So almost like this corridor fit theory where like you don't know what's in the next corridor. You just have to walk through the corridor and that will take you to whatever the next corridor is. And you open the next door and then that will take you to the next corridor and so on. So I'm sure I'm missing so many details that I wanted to share, but those are some sort of the key components that stuck out when I listened to your story. Be curious your thoughts.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's two things that kind of really come to mind when you say all of that. The first is that, this aspect of, I think in order to be a great creator, and I'm not saying I am one, but I think I would say I am a creator and I want to be a great creator. I think in order to be a great creator, you kind of have to have this balance of, I want to do so many things. So like I like for me, I think I realistically in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe even less, could hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and that's a goal that I want to hit. But I think as to be a great creator, you have to have those dreams, those ambitions. You have to have, okay, what if, like I be like, okay, what if I like did Ryan Trahan, Mr. Beast kind of challenges, and I would probably need a team. I would probably there'd be so much. There's all those what ifs. And I think as a great creator, you have to have those. But I think it's also balanced out with, okay, but what is doable right now, or what is doable in the foreseeable future, or what like pays the bills like for the foreseeable future, in that sense too, of like, would I like to be sponsored for $10,000 every video like that? Yeah, that'd be awesome. But like that's not in the cards right now, and it might never be, and that's okay too. So there's that balance, I think, and like even like you said, like even from a professional standpoint, of I dedicate a lot of time into this, and probably less time than I want most of the time, because I think I have other things that have to balance out that ambitious aspect of, okay, I have my family that I have to think about. I have my actual job that pays me money. And so if I have this extra energy left, I probably should make sure that I'm giving my all to that first before I try to hit these ambitious roles. And, in college and afterwards, and even now, I still get like, oh, it'd be nice. Like maybe I could do like music, like full time. Like maybe I could do that. But it's one of those things where like you said, like, being actors, like it's funny how my mind like immediately went to, I'm going to be like an actor and musician. That the two things that's almost impossible to get paid for really well. And it's just, you almost have to just be lucky enough kind of thing in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But like, it's one of those things where like, I'm not saying this will be my path, but there's a lot of people who they became the thing that is needed and doable right now, in the sense of like a content creator, a streamer, or a YouTuber. And then they get to be like, hey, I'm going to play music, or I'm going to, act in this, silly little sketch video. And like, I actually just recorded yesterday and I just released today. I have a sponsor slot for one of my videos, and I got to do just like funny little like 10-second sketch where it was just me. Like I was literally holding the camera and like acting like in front of the camera. But I was like, oh, this is fun. I haven't gotten the chance to do something like this, that acting side of my brain, literally in like, I don't know, 10 years in a lot of ways. And so it's fun little things that's like, most of the time when you do have that balance, I think you tend to hit your ambitious goals more than you might think, because you're balancing that out with these, because most of the time your ambitious goals are, I'm going to be an actor on the next Netflix special. But most YouTubers who are doing silly little sketch comedies who will never be in a Netflix special. Some of them have gotten a chance to be in a Netflix special, but some of them probably hit views that are nowhere near some of the popular Netflix TV shows in a lot of ways. And so I think it's one of those things where these branches of the paths to certain areas usually are not what we think of if we are just stuck on this ambitious side of things. But when it's leveled out, it's easier to see, the trees amongst the forest, where you're like, oh, hey, now I get to, I have made more videos in the last year than I ever made in college trying to do, film in a lot of ways. And so it's crazy.
It is crazy, and you use the word doable, and I think you're so right. And sort of the insight that came to me was, or at least you used the word doable, and what came to mind for me was the word repeatable. So balancing, as you put it, ambition with, as I would put it, what is repeatable, and you're not saying to set your sights low or to craft limiting beliefs for yourself of what is possible, but what would guarantee that you don't burn out? It's almost this this spectrum is sort of what I'm getting out of what you're sharing. It's just if you lean too far to one side of ambition, it's just well, if you just destroy yourself and invest tens of thousands of dollars into this YouTube, it's just what if it all just blows up in these next few months? It's you're probably going to give up unless you just happen to hit a home run. But if you lean too far to the other side, on the other end of ambition, which is just maybe too repeatable, it's too easy, then you're just these are no effort videos, you put something together in 10 minutes and just put it up there. And maybe in the beginning, that's what you need to just get going. But the whole goal is to, again, this is just what my interpretation of what you're sharing is just especially if you're balancing this with a family, a job, and you don't want to just burn the boats and just put your foot all the way down on the gas pedal. It's just how hard on this gas pedal can I press to where I'm making meaningful progress, but I'm not going to get pulled over by the cops. I'm not going to get arrested for reckless driving and risk crashing this car, more or less. Sort of finding that sweet spot. How did I do there?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely correct. It kind of reminds me of two things. First thing, I think along those lines, it's this thing, and I've seen it personally. I'm still trying to find that balance, especially because, when I got the full-time role about a year ago, just over a year ago, all of a sudden my, not only the pedal shifts, because one, I still had family stuff that I had to deal with, not just everyday family things, but there was also, other emergency family things I had to deal with towards the end of the year, and almost all of last year. And so it's one of those things where now I have a full-time job, as well as the things I like to do on the side, as well as this YouTube that I still think, okay, does that mean it's just succeeded and I reached the goal that I needed of finding a job that provides for my family? No, but it did shift how I thought about it. I started posting less, and I think just within my given ability of effort, it just changed. And so now a lot of my effort goes into the videos that I make for my full-time job, where now it's almost shifted I still provide effort into my current personal stuff, but it looks different. It's repeatable in different ways because my ability to make it repeatable, or the even creative output to make it repeatable, is different than it was when I was trying to find a job and when I was trying to have this different goal and different aspect in life. And so I think you're absolutely correct in how this pedal of effort as well as acceleration, it's not like that is being completely released, but it does change. Maybe in one aspect you're driving a sports car because all of a sudden you don't need your family in it for like that particular period of time. But now maybe I'm driving like this minivan and I have, I have kids, I have family, I have a job, I have, friends that I like to, make sure our relationships stay in touch too. And all of that has changed. I'm still pushing on the pedal the same way, but the actual delivery system has changed in a lot of ways too. The actual, and I think it's good to note that doesn't mean I'm less happy with the results in a lot of ways too. I think knowing that the acceleration hasn't changed, but the result automatically changes because the delivery system, the type of effort put in and the type of consistency put in has changed. It's been easier to accept. Oh, I know that if I hit 10,000 subscribers, I think within the first 6 months, but now I'm only at 16,000. I've only gained 6,000 in the last year. And so it's like one of those things where like, oh, am I upset about it? Probably a little bit, but it's one of those things where I know that it's because my effort and output has changed in a lot of ways. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that.
All I wanted to hear, Josh, I just need validation to know that what I say is correct and very wise and insightful. That's why we're here. This is this show is more an ego boost for me than anything else.
Yeah.
If you could go back to right after you uploaded that first Laravel video, what would you do differently, if anything at all?
I honestly, I don't know if I would do too much. It's one of those things where like, there's things that I would have wanted to experiment with, and I don't know if they would have been the right choice. But one of the things that I not regret, but I don't think, I guess kind of twofold. Yeah, we'll put it one that is like more professional-ish related, and then one like that's more content. Professional related, I don't think I capitalized enough on the momentum that I just naturally stirred. Again, I don't think it went viral by any means, but there were so many people who were like sharing this, who were talking about it, of like, people who were big names or had a big following. And it was more of just like, oh, thanks so much for sharing. Like, thank you for that. And I think I'm still not great at this, but I think I've gotten to the point where like I'm better at asking for things. And like there was probably so many opportunities where I could have been like, hey, I'd love to like talk to you about this on your podcast, or like, hey, I'd love to talk to you about this to people who had that type of following. I think there was a lot of professional opportunities I probably missed just because I was like, oh, this is doing really well. Let me just try to keep recreating that instead of enjoying and also benefiting from it in a lot of ways too. And the funny thing is, it's still kind of like I said, it's still one of my more popular videos. So there's still consistent views each and every day, and it's still shared and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of stuff that I've done now, I think, that has benefited from it. So I think professional wise, that would be one thing. Content wise, I think there's so much to learn of like, okay, what really took off and what didn't. And it as you know, it's probably like half of it could be the content itself, half of it could be packaging, and this is a lot of halves, but like part of it could be content itself, part of it could be packaging, part of it could be the actual just time frame in which it was released and the people who shared it, and whatever that algorithm kind of picked up or anything like that. But I think I almost started my content creation journey, and this is one that's more of like experimental. I don't know if this would have been the right path, and I'm trying to correct this now in some ways. But I think that almost started this path of me setting my niche when it comes to content and creation. And I think it has led to being able to talk on podcasts like this about a broad range of stuff that I would never share on my YouTube channel just because it doesn't fit most of my audience. But I think that started taking off, and I was like, oh, Laravel videos, oh, PHP videos, oh, this particular thing. And I think there's a good benefit to niching down, but I think I started too early in a lot of ways. It was one of those things where like, oh, my popular video was really good at the very start of my thing. So if I could go back, it would be to experiment more. And again, maybe a wrong mistake on my part, but for example, I learned in the course of, I think after 5 videos, I ended up moving to a different office because we had to have a room for my daughter in my house. And so I redid my studio, and I didn't spend much money. But if I think back of like, if I didn't have that one Laravel video that kind of pushed myself into this whole, what I've done some videos that it seems everyone's doing videos of, but again, maybe that's not a thing of like, okay, here's how to set up an office. Here's how to have a camera and lighting. And even this particular office, I don't have hardly any content created or recorded about how I have set up my recording process, how I do all this, mostly because I'm like, I don't know who would watch it because that's not my channel currently. But it's stuff that is also, I get really excited about. I could talk for hours about the specific reasons I have this camera or like this particular light or this microphone or, why I use like a desktop and then a laptop to record, like all that kind of stuff. And so maybe, if I experimented more, maybe it would have been a bad choice and maybe I wouldn't be at where I'm at now. But that's probably one of the things I think about the most, if you could say it that way.
Yeah, it's a very common, I mean, at least from what I've seen as far as people who joined the Grindstone coaching program, but certainly those that maybe prospects or people who are considering, I do calls with to see if they're interested, to see if it's a good fit. And this is probably the most common pain point, which is not necessarily what you're saying. I mean, usually what I hear is
the steps. Inverse?
Well, yes. It's usually the pain before. Like you have kind of what you're talking about is the explore exploit dichotomy. So like you're talking about, oh, maybe I wish you're such a curious person. You have all these interests. There's all these things that you could be making content about. You could explore. So go wide of like digging a bunch of holes, maybe like 1 foot deep. You're digging over here, and then you're digging over here, you're digging over here, you're digging over here. And the good thing about that is you're stretching all these muscles, and you get the chance to explore and try to share a bunch of different sides of yourself or a bunch of different things. And it's good because it gives you the data of like, well, what do I enjoy? Like what you're sourcing. But the downside is, it's very hard to build an audience with that, unless, of course, you have an insanely captivating personality, unless you have like an insanely high level of connectivity with your audience, right? So like vloggers, for example, if you're so captivating on camera, it's like, I don't care what this video is about. I just want to see my guy. Oh, like he made another video. I'm not even looking at the title. Like, cool, I'll watch it.
Just click on it. Yeah.
Which can be great, but that's very rare. And to expect that of oneself, that's sort of what I'm saying. I meet a lot of creators who are like, I just want to be a variety creator. It's like, well, you need to improve a lot of things about about the way that you record. It's like the faster track for most creators. It's hard to say like this is what every single person should do. It's impossible because we're all so different. And like I mentioned earlier, we all have such different unfair advantages. But I would say that for most creators, if growth is the goal, or sort of solidifying and establishing an audience, some authority, respect in the creator space, like niching down and exploiting, right? So exploiting, if exploring is digging a bunch of holes all over, exploiting is like you dug a hole, maybe you see like a little bit of gold there, and you're like, all right, we're digging here. This is going to be 100 feet in this one hole. So, I have no idea what would have happened. You could have made a different type of video, and that would have gotten a million, gazillion, billion views, or it would have gotten, nothing. And like we don't know. We can't split test that as of right now. But it's something that I see, and as far, I don't know what the algorithm or the formula is to figure out like what how do I know when blah blah blah. It's just like, there's just trade-offs. There's trade-offs
Oh, yeah.
to both. And at least for me personally, since it's the world that I'm in, I'm like, we are here to help hold creators accountable and help them actually grow in a sustainable, meaningful way. I've seen more pain come from exploring too much and not actually having something that sticks and gathers an audience. Like if every video is different, people don't know what to subscribe for. They subscribe for one reason because you're digging this hole, and now next month you're digging over here and they're like, wait, I'm no longer getting the thing that I subscribed for. I don't care about this hole. I want more of this. So just what I've seen as I've sort of like overviewed people who are a few steps behind where you're at.
And it makes sense because I think that's where I'm kind of like leaning towards even currently in a lot of ways. And like if I think about my the content that I consume regularly, because I feel like I watch not even because I want to get better at YouTube, but I watch a ton of YouTube mostly because I enjoy it. And most of the content exactly. It's just fun. And I never usually watch too much of the content that is similar to mine. Like I do as well, but a lot of the content, again, creators that I follow, who are bigger, who I have seen grow from 100,000 subscribers to now over millions, kind of thing. Most of the time, like you're saying, it's I watched at least 10 of their specific videos, but now I just watch anything. And it was never, I watched 10 of their everything videos and now I watch everything. Usually that's not the goal. And so I've kind of like solidified of like, okay, I am in this world, and even though it is exactly what I do for my day job, I still am. That is my current audience. And so, what does it look like? And that's kind of like my next initiative, and what I have been doing this month, and what I will continue to do for like the next 3 to 6 months is kind of like, okay, I'm not going to dig new holes, but let me dig a bigger. Like, let me just slightly chip away at the current hole that I'm doing. So more of like, okay, maybe it's not PHP and Laravel and specifically for those people who are already using that, but maybe it's like, okay, it's just web development in general, or maybe it's like a little bit more of like, a little bit more of like AI and development and stuff like that. So that's my current experiment to see, can I still, and a lot of this kind of going back to almost like that acceleration pedal thing. A lot of it is because I want to still make great high quality videos that still fit my niche, but I also know that I don't have the time and effort that I could do, especially if I want it to be repeatable. And so it's how can I still make things I want to make while being able to do it consistently and spend less time than I used to do before in a lot of ways. And so it's kind of folded into this, well, let me have this explore phase for a little bit where I just chip away the small little hole that I've dug, see if I can make it a little bigger.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing it. Yeah, it's cool. I really like seeing your trajectory, and I don't even remember how you and I met.
I think through Joe Previtt, I'm pretty sure.
It was through Joe. You know what's crazy? I had a call with him today.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in many months, and he's been on the show. But yeah, he just started a health and wellness coaching.
Oh, awesome!
Business. And I've been a coach for years, and he was asking me some questions. It's like, let's just hop on a call. I'll share everything that I know, and that is how we met. Yeah, I think he shared a LinkedIn post or something, and you commented. Anyway, it's been cool, and following. I love seeing your posts on Twitter, and I continue to be impressed with everything that you have going on, especially like dealing with all of the personal challenges. Like you just have a lot going on, and I don't know. I don't mean this to sort of belittle or downplay everything that you have going on, but it's like it's really inspiring because I have way less hardship in my life going on, and so I'm just like, well, I mean, if he keeps creating and he's still doing the thing, it's just like, all right, well, like I have no excuse. I'll keep on trucking. And
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, dude. We're coming up to the end of our scheduled time here, and I'm curious if you have some time for some rapid fire questions before we wrap this all up.
Yep, I do. Let's do it.
Okay. What in content is getting easier for you, and what is getting harder?
Content is getting easier for me to have the idea, to go from idea to publish has gotten so much easier. And I think most of it is because I have done kind of two things. One, the repetition has allowed me to be able to sit down, this is mostly a standing desk. I have a bigger chair, so that's what I'm sitting on right now. But be able to stand here, press this record button that is literally right down here on a Stream Deck. And because I've set up my process to do all this, that is one reason why it has become so much easier to do it. But second thing, I think the repetition has allowed me to say, okay, I have this topic, and unless it requires a lot of prior research or a demo application that I want to build, again, most of the content currently I'm trying to do is trying to get away from the prep side. And so more topics that rely on more of like, hey, let's just do it together, or let's do that. Most of the time I could record a 20-minute video in 40 minutes and have that content done and ready to be edited. And it might not be as perfect as it used to be when I spent an hour and a half prepping and an hour and a half recording and an hour and a half editing. But the difference to me is still, this is something I'm proud of. And I think this is something that is useful. And I think that's gotten easier because I have done it hundreds of times, for not just for my personal stuff, but also for work and for, podcasts and talking and things like that. And I think I'm glad that I have those reps to kind of fall back on. And this is something that's gotten harder.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's gotten harder is with that, knowing where I should focus. And kind of like you said, I think I've gotten busier, not because of there's personal stuff that goes on, and there's work stuff. Like there's seasons where work stuff is more, and maybe my friends and family is more, and that I think that's usual. But then also, like, if you have those ambitions, most of the time, if you're ambitious, you're not just going to be. I'm not this type of person. I'm not just ambitious for my personal YouTube stuff. I'm like, okay, I also am ambitious in my current job. I want to make sure I do that really well, and I want to be the best DevRel working for Laravel as I could be. And so I am ambitious about, okay, these are the projects for work that I need to do. Maybe those are ambitious. And so if you still have a bunch of stuff, I want to be a better dad, a better husband. It's like all those ambitions slowly start to creep. And so you have to learn. And I was really bad. I still am bad, but not as bad as I used to be. I'm bad at saying no, and I'm bad at saying, finding out what to pass off to someone else. And so just recently, this month, I ended up finding an editor that I could work with to do the stuff that, even though it only took, because I think I had solidified my process. If I recorded a 40-minute video of content, it would take me around maybe another hour to edit. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I want to do at least 2 a week, then I could have done 4 videos a week and put them to an editor instead of 2. And now I have 2 weeks covered if I get sick or family stuff comes up. Right. And so it's one of those things where I am not good at delegating stuff like that to people, or just being one, because I don't like I like being I can control every single aspect. Mm-hmm. But then 2, it's one of those things where is it going to be as good as I can do it? I'm not a great editor, but that's part of my process. It's probably going to take them longer because they're not used to how I work and all this kind of thing. But I think that's been hard. Is one, where do I say no? And then where do I kind of cut back, automate, scale down, and kind of like what we were talking about with the acceleration piece. Like, what am I okay with losing in quality, even if it's minuscule, so that I can continue on the path to where I want to be.
Yeah. And that's scale, right? Like, would
Yeah.
you rather, and this isn't quite what you're saying, but a hypothetical is like, would I rather upload one video a week at 100% of the quality of my standard, or 4 videos a week at 80% of my standard each?
Yep.
And like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe the answer is no. I want it to be 100%. I refuse.
Yeah.
But
and I think there's times when, and maybe like once I get to a certain point, then it's like, okay, now I want to make sure like let's do one video 100%, or have a bigger team and 4 videos 100%, you know, whatever that might be. But it's like, I am excited for this next phase where I'm like, okay, I am okay with the expedited and extraneous and larger consistency of content with small diminishing returns, instead of not anything like I have been in the past 6 months. So it's one of those things where it takes a while to like shut down that pride of like, like this is not as good as that first video.
Yeah.
That first video I made, I spent probably a week on. Like it was a lot more time, and I like I said, it's gotten easier to make that. I probably could make that now within 3 hours, kind of thing. But that what are you willing to give? What are you willing to take? That kind of thing. That's been hard.
yeah, totally. And you said, I would challenge your language on this. You said, I'm not good at outsourcing or delegating, or, you know, having someone else do something on your behalf. It's like, it's a skill like anything else, right? It's like, you're not good at it yet, but if you work with an editor to make 100 videos, like 100 videos from now, you will have a whole new process for delegation. And okay, cool. Here, files sent. Here's everything that you need to know. This, and this. And then cool. Let me know when you're done. All right, here's the first round of review and edits. And it's just like, it's a skill like anything else.
Yep. So shout out to AJ, my editor, who's going to learn all of that stuff.
AJ, we love you, man. What is the number one lesson that you've had to learn the hard way?
Number one lesson that I've had to learn the hard way for content specifically, there's probably a bunch of others for everything else, but for content specifically, is that I'm not as smart or innovative as I think I am. A lot of times I'm like, oh, this would be, and I the cool thing is, like, I think I kind of also learned this through wanting to build SaaS products. And it's like, usually no one's ever thought of this. Like, why is there no product out there like this? Usually because no one wants that in a lot of ways. You know, I every now and then I'll like take someone, I'm like, hey, like, what, this would be like really cool. And be like, yeah. And then like the first thing would be like, okay, well, who else is building something like this or making something like this when it comes to like content creators? And usually it's like, well, no one is. And I'm like, that's probably a good indicator. And so I think I have that ambitious side of me has always been, you know, it'd be really cool. And even like, and I think I slowly started to learn this with like quality, like production quality too, is like one of the things I was like, oh, that is going to be my moat. Like me being a really high production developer creator. I'm like, one, there are other people who are high production. Don't get me wrong. But then I'm like, no, this should just be one of those things where it just matters more to me because no one else really cares. Like there's people who have millions of views and millions of subscribers who don't show their face ever and just have a voiceover kind of thing, and who are reaching the same audience that I want to reach. And so I think that's been the hardest lesson to learn, is like all the things I think make me unique and make me innovative, they're not really that. I think going back to like the keep creating thing, I think it does in some form, but that's more for you to have and for me to have that kind of kick in the pants and passion to make the next one. And no one else really cares about it until they are, you know, your fans and dedicated followers.
Yeah. Cool. What is something you believe, a philosophy, principle, belief about content creation that most other creators would disagree with?
Okay, that's a good one. Because I think all of like my little mantras and stuff like that, most other contests probably would say it differently, but most of them might believe, oh yeah, keep creating, provide value, like learn out loud, like that kind of stuff. But one I probably like disagree with is a lot of people like to learn, and this is probably not as hot of a take as I can probably come up with, but a lot of content creators, especially in my space, in the tech, web development, software development world, usually are like, hey, learn the basics, and then just start tweaking, start going, start doing. Even within content creation, it's like most other content creators would probably say, oh hey, like before you just press record, why don't you watch 10 videos with someone you really like, and then then start writing a script, and then trash the script and write another one, and then do all this stuff. And for me, I am under my philosophy is that the way you learn best is by I call it like learning driven development, in the sense that the way you learn best is usually by doing something that you want to accomplish. And so, if I wanted to learn JavaScript so that I could build this website that takes my YouTube videos and grabs the transcription of all of them and tells me what my next video should be based on all my old YouTube videos. Most people, or I would say the large majority of people, would probably say, okay, well then start learning JavaScript. I would say, well then start learning what tools you actually need to make that specific outcome, because that's what you're gonna be more passionate about. Like for me, within like content creation, I was like, I want to do, I want to make YouTube like my full-time job. So when I started, it was not, okay, well then I have to learn how to do, learn how to edit a video, and then I have to learn how to write a title, and then I have to learn how to do all this. It's like, no, I'm just going to do it. And, I think it was just a lot of natural instincts I leaned on that first video did really well, and where I probably overthought a lot in the rest couple of videos in a lot of ways too. And so I think, yeah, I would say like the easiest way to learn something is to find that outcome that you want and be able to learn the steps needed to get there, rather than learning the steps needed to get to each individual piece.
Yeah, so almost like working backward instead of
jump into it.
Yeah, it's like a reverse pyramid as opposed to a typical pyramid. Maybe that's not the best. That's very, from my very limited knowledge of coding, is because again, I had those 3 tries, and the number one piece of advice I got from my friends, and like people who actually did it either for a job or who just loved doing it on the side, they were just like, don't do like chapters in a book, like make stuff. Try to make a thing, make an app, I love chess. So like make a chess set. Make a chess set that works. Like just spend your time on Google and YouTube, and now I guess ChatGPT or whatever else exists, and just try to make it. And you will learn so much more about actually trying to make that thing than, making it to chapter 2.4 in this giant textbook of HTML or whatever.
Yeah. I think with it takes some, and the reason why I think it's not as popular, like you said, within like development, is probably more popular than it is within other things like, music. It's like, you need to learn the scales. And instead of like, actually learn this song, you'll learn so much by learning this particular song. And again, not a huge, the majority would probably still, like it's probably 50-50 of like people would say one way or the other. But I think it's because you have this, you have to have a personality that also knows how to then break things down. And so, one, break things down so that way you retain the information that is those individual pieces. And 2, you also have to have a personality that's then is also able to reflect on things too. Because I think if you are not someone like, let's talk like content creation. If you are someone who's like, okay, well, just make your first 10 videos. Don't think about packaging. And most YouTubers probably would tell you that too. Like, don't think about packaging. Don't think about the thumbnail. Don't think about all this. Just make them as good as you possibly can for like the first 10 of them. Like most people probably don't have the reflective personality to be like, okay, well, what actually was good about these versus what was not. And so that's my one stipulation about that philosophy is like, I think it's also very dependent on the individual person. But overall, I would say do the thing and then learn.
Do the thing. You're speaking my language. Who is your favorite creator outside of your niche?
My favorite current creator. Oh, I have so many. I actually just made a list of these to my editor. I was like, these are the people that I want to be at. My favorite current creator. I'll do top 3. So it's very hard to say.
Okay.
My favorite top 3 current creators is Ryan Trahan. Is Caleb Hammer from Financial Audit.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, let's go with James Hoffman, coffee creator, coffee YouTuber.
Cool. Okay. Maybe I should change the question moving forward to top 3 because you learn so much more about a person by getting 3. I always say like, show me a man's YouTube algorithm front page, and I can tell you a lot about this person.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, outside of Financial Audit, probably or Caleb Hammer, most of those probably wouldn't be on my front page. I watch so much. I subscribe to a lot too. So like I think I have over 2,000 subscriptions.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I'm just bring it all to me. Like that's I scroll for days.
I go through, it's like a pendulum swing where I'll feel so inspired and I'm just like, show me all this cool interesting, like subscribe. And then a month and a half, like I unsubscribed from half of my list of
subscriptions. I don't think I've ever unsubscribed. Actually, probably just one. I don't think I've ever unsubscribed. Like, let me look at my top, my YouTube like role on mobile. So it's development syntax. It is a couple sketch comedy channels. A guy named Stevie Emerson. Fireship, a developer one. Jay Klaus, community guy. And then More Plates, More Dates. That's a great channel. And then Daniel Thrasher. Daniel Thrasher would probably be number 4 for me right now.
The pianist?
Yep, pianist, sketch comedian.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. 2 more questions for you, Josh. Yeah. You're free to go, sir. What have you sacrificed to get to where you are today? And what have you been unwilling to sacrifice?
Yep. That one's actually pretty easy for me. What have I sacrificed? I have sacrificed the stuff that I used to do for fun. I used to play so many video games. I have not played a single video game in around 2 years. Outside of ones I play with my daughters, like, and they're 3 and 2. And so they can't really play, but like
they play Call of Duty.
That would be fun. They play, we like pretend to play, Mario, what's not the Mario Party. So like we play some of the mini games. And they like to take she calls it taking pictures. They take screenshots while I'm playing that kind of thing. So that's the thing. But that's probably the biggest thing I've given up is every single chance that I have to that is outside of the things that I'm not willing to give up, like my church life, my family, my job, my YouTube channel. Like all, and I would say the top one of those for me is my family, and my family time. But every single time I'm not doing any of those things, it is either making a video. What can I do to make better videos? Maybe I'm learning a new web development piece that I'm like, okay, this would make like a really good video. Or it's just me experimenting and browsing and being like, okay, like what, let me watch this Colin and Samir video about how to, beat the algorithm for YouTuber kind of thing. So like, that what I do for fun now is directly related to where I want to be. Where before I did a lot of things for fun. I played video games. I don't know. I watched a lot more Netflix before. Now it's just me and my wife watch like maybe one show before she goes to bed, and then I go to my office. So yeah, I've given up watching a lot of movies and playing a lot of video games.
Josh Cirre, you're the man. This was a very fun and fast hour and a half, as I thought it would be. And I deeply appreciate your time. Where can I link people to check out more of what you got going on?
Yeah, an absolute blast. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Dillan. It's been a pleasure chatting. Yeah, I am Josh Cirre, Cirre, on almost every social network. I'm most active on probably X/Twitter, the Everything app, and then YouTube is at Josh Cirre.
Thanks, man.